Okay, what if I told you there's a single mathematical principle that connects a spinning galaxy to your own state of mind? I know, it sounds wild, but that's the incredibly ambitious idea we're going to dive into today. It comes from Suzanne Crippin's The Atlas Codex, and it's basically a proposed universal equation for balance itself.
And this one idea, it's the foundation for literally everything else we're going to talk about. So right off the bat, I want you to forget the idea of balance as stillness, like a perfectly still pond. Instead, think of it as an active, dynamic state. It's a rhythm. It's a system in perfectly harmonious motion.
But here's the crucial leap, the part that's a real game changer. The Codex suggests that this poetic idea of listening motion, well, it's not just a nice metaphor. It's something that can be described, measured, and get this, even engineered with a precise mathematical formula.
So, at the very heart of this theory is a universal constant for balance, and they call it T. And again, we're not talking about stillness here. We're talking about an active, oscillating rhythm. When a system achieves this T state, it means it's hit that absolute sweet spot of perfect stability.
Okay, so where does that stability even come from? Well, the theory has a name for it: equal force symmetry. Just imagine a perfect push and pull. On one side, you've got all the expressive energy we can see and measure. That's called the reality field. And on the other side, there's this unseen containing force, the black matter field. And that perfect balance? It's the result of that perfect, beautiful tension between the two.
All right, that's the concept. But how do you actually measure it? This brings us right to the mathematical engine of this whole system, the Atlas T equation. Let's break down its three core components, one by one.
First up is P, and that stands for proportion. This one's all about space, the shape, the geometry, the actual structure of a system. And what's cool is the theory links this directly to patterns of efficiency we see all over nature. Think about the golden ratio, It's what tells a sunflower the most effective way to arrange its seeds. That's proportion. Next, we have kappa. That's K, which stands for phase. And this is super simple. If proportion was all about space, phase is all about time. It's the rhythm, the sequence, the pulse of the system. And the theory is really clear on this. You can have the most perfectly proportional parts, but if the timing is off, the whole thing just falls apart. And finally, that brings us to R for resonance. Honestly, the best way to think of resonance is like the glue that holds everything else together. It's what gives that rhythm its staying power, its stability. It makes sure the system's pulse is strong and sustained, so it doesn't just fizzle out.
So you put all three of those together, and there it is, the equation for balance. T equals proportion times phase times resonance. It's a simple but powerful idea. The perfect shape moving with the perfect timing, and held together with reliable staying power.
Okay, so that's the big, universal formula. But how does this become something deeply personal? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The theory takes that same geometric logic and applies it directly to our own minds, suggesting that we all use four fundamental shapes to organize our thoughts and emotions.
These are called the four primitives. So you've got the triangle, which represents focused attention and clarity. The circle is all about connection and emotional awareness. The square gives us stability and psychological safety. And finally, the spiral embodies growth, learning, and adaptation. It's almost like a basic toolkit our minds use to make sense of our inner world.
So just take a second and look at these. Which one of these shapes best captures your state of mind right now? Are you feeling focused and directed like a triangle? Or maybe more grounded and stable like a square? According to this theory, your answer isn't just a random whim. It's a genuine reflection of your current cognitive state. Now this next part, this might be one of the most unexpected leaps in the entire Codex. It takes all these ideas about balance and connects them to a field you would never expect. Radio engineering. Yeah, I'm serious. It draws a direct line between stabilizing energy waves and stabilizing human emotions.
Okay, so here's the analogy. In radio engineering, there's a special tool called a Smith chart, and it's used to tune an antenna so the signal transmits cleanly without distortion. The theory argues that the geometry used to stabilize that energy flow is the exact same structure that living systems use to stabilize emotional flow, what we call empathy. In both cases, the goal is the same: to achieve resonant balance.
So, if this one equation can apply to the vastness of the universe and to our own minds, what about everything in between?
Let's zoom back out for a minute and see how the theory applies these same principles to the design of our entire world.
This is fascinating. The Codex actually reinterprets historical architecture as physical expressions of that balance equation we talked about. Think about it. The pyramid, with its clear, focused ascent, embodies proportion, or P. The ziggurat, with its measured, stepped rhythm, embodies phase, or kappa. And the dome, which contains and reflects sound, embodies resonance, or R. It's P, kappa, and R, literally built in stone.
And this leads to a kind of blueprint for the cities of the future. I mean, imagine urban planning that isn't just about efficiency, but about harmony. We're talking about cities built with natural rhythms, using Fibonacci sequences in their layouts, and using materials that are already in a stable, resonant state. The ultimate goal is to create environments that are literally humming in the same key as the planet, and because of that, in tune with us.
And finally, the theory identifies one last central piece to this entire global system: the human heart. It's described as the 13th node. It's the active tuner, where our own personal equation of balance meets the geometry of the Earth itself, synchronizing our inner world with the outer one.
So after all that, let's bring it all back to you one last time. We've seen how this incredible theory connects the entire cosmos to our own consciousness. Now I want you to think about your own life. What geometric pattern? Is it a sharp triangle, a flowing circle, a stable square, or a growing spiral? What pattern best defines the most resonant, balanced rhythm that you're experiencing right now? It's a pretty fascinating question to sit with, isn't it?